In the quiet fishing village of Nyamkai, the ocean is both life and legend. When young Oma vanishes after hearing eerie lullabies from the sea, her 14-year-old brother, Femi, embarks on a perilous quest to uncover the truth. Guided by ancient wisdom and armed with courage, he discovers his family's dark secret, a broken pact with Nyanya, a vengeful mermaid. Determined to save his sister and end the curse, Femi must navigate treacherous caves, confront sea guardians, and outsmart the mermaid. But will his bravery and empathy be enough to break the cycle of betrayal and bring peace to both worlds? The Mermaid's Curse, a brother's daring quest. In the peaceful fishing village of Nyamkai, life revolves around the ocean. The villagers respect its power, offering rituals to appease the spirits they believe dwell beneath its waves. Recently, whispers spread of children disappearing under mysterious circumstances. The elders say it is the work of a vengeful mermaid, angered by human greed. Femi, a bright and curious 14-year-old boy, pays little attention to the tales, dismissing them as mere folklore. However, the unease is palpable. Fishermen return with empty nets, and parents keep their children close. Femi's 8-year-old sister, Oma, has been unusually quiet, her dreams filled with eerie lullabies she claims to hear from the ocean. One evening, Oma vanishes. Femi's world shatters. He scours the shoreline, calling her name into the night, but she is gone. The villagers believe the mermaid has claimed another victim. Gripped by guilt for dismissing the warnings, Femi vows to bring his sister back. Little does he know, the journey ahead will unravel secrets buried deep within his family's past. The village is plunged into sorrow as news of Omo's disappearance spreads. Neighbors offer condolences, but whispers of blame fill the air. Some accuse Femi's family of angering the sea spirit, while others suggest Omo wandered too close to the water against warnings. Femi's mother, Aba, is inconsolable, clutching Omo's favorite doll as tears stream down her face. Femi's father, Kwesi, retreats into silence, his face etched with worry and something else, fear. Femi sits by the shore every evening, hoping for a sign. On the third night, he notices something unusual, shimmering scales caught in the moonlight near the rocks. As he picks one up, a haunting melody fills the air, faint but distinct. The villagers' warnings echo in his mind. Determined, Femi decides he must confront the truth behind the stories. Gathering his courage, he plans to seek out the oldest elder, Nana Esai, who is said to know the ocean's deeper secrets. Femi approaches Nana Esai's hut with trepidation. The elder's home is tucked away at the edge of the village, surrounded by overgrown foliage and adorned with talismans meant to ward off evil. The old woman greets him with a knowing look, as if she's been expecting him. "You've come to ask about the sea," she says, her voice gravelly yet firm. Femi nods, clutching the shimmering scale in his hand. He tells her about Omo's disappearance and the melody he'd heard by the shore. Nana Esai's expression darkens. "The sea does not take lightly to broken promises," she says cryptically. She explains that the mermaid, Nyanya, has been angered by human greed and the villagers' neglect of ancient rituals. But it is not just the village she blames, Nana Esai adds, fixing Femi with a piercing gaze. "Your family's past is entwined with her rage." Femi's heart pounds as he demands to know what she means, but the elder only warns him, "If you seek the truth, you must follow the melody." But beware, Nyanya does not forgive easily. She gives him a small vial of protective herbs and sends him on his way, her parting words echoing in his mind, "Courage will guide you, but only the truth will set you free." The haunting melody grows stronger as Femi follows it along the shoreline, clutching the vial of herbs Nana Esai gave him. The path leads to a hidden cave shrouded in mist, its entrance partially submerged by the tide. He hesitates, fear gnawing at his resolve, but thoughts of Oma push him forward. Inside, the air is thick with moisture and an eerie glow emanates from the walls, illuminating intricate carvings of mermaids and sea creatures. As he ventures deeper, The melody becomes almost unbearable, pulling him toward an underground lagoon. There, he sees a figure, a woman with shimmering scales and flowing hair that seems to merge with the water. Her eyes are piercing, filled with both sorrow and fury. "You dare enter my domain," the mermaid's voice echoes, both beautiful and terrifying. Femi stammers, "I'm looking for my sister, Oma. Please, tell me where she is." The mermaid's gaze softens momentarily, but her expression hardens again. "Your family's death cannot be ignored," she says. "Oma is but a pawn in a cycle of betrayal." Femi begs for answers, but Nyanya vanishes into the water, leaving only her haunting melody behind. Determined, Femi vows to uncover the truth about his family's connection to the mermaid and bring Oma home. Returning to the village, Femi confronts his parents. He demands to know what death the mermaid spoke of, but his father remains silent, his jaw clenched tightly. Aba, however, bursts into tears. She confesses that many years ago, their family had made a pact with Nyanya. In a time of great famine, Kwesi had sought the mermaid's help. She blessed the family with abundant fish, but the price was steep. Their firstborn daughter was promised to the sea. Femi's mind reels as he pieces together the truth. Oma had been marked from birth, and her disappearance was the mermaid claiming what was owed. "Why didn't you tell us?" he yells, his voice cracking. Aba's sobs deepen, and Kwesi finally speaks, his voice low and filled with shame. "I thought I could protect her. I thought the rituals would be enough." Femi's anger fuels his determination. "I'll fix this," he declares, storming out. He knows he must return to the cave and face Nyanya again, but this time, he needs more than courage, he needs a plan. Femi spends the night crafting a plan. He knows he must find a way to reason with Nyanya, but the thought of confronting her again terrifies him. He returns to Nana Esai for guidance. The elder listens as he recounts his parents' confession and his desire to break the curse. Nana Esai reveals that there is a way to challenge the mermaid's claim, but it is fraught with danger. "You must retrieve the Heartstone," she says, a sacred gem hidden deep within the sea caves. "It holds the power to renegotiate the pact, but Nyanya will do everything to stop you." She gives Femi an enchanted necklace that will protect him from the mermaid's magic for a short time. "You must move quickly," Nana Esai warns. The Heartstone is guarded by creatures of the deep, and the path to it is treacherous. Armed with this knowledge, Femi steels himself for the journey ahead. Femi ventures back to the cave under the cover of darkness, the necklace glowing faintly around his neck. The melody is stronger than ever, pulling him deeper into the labyrinth of tunnels. The air grows colder, and the water rises around his ankles. He moves cautiously, his heart pounding with every step. Suddenly, he hears movement. Shadows shift in the dim light, and glowing eyes peer at him from the darkness. A school of ethereal fish swims past, illuminating the path ahead. Femi follows them, realizing they are leading him to something. As he reaches a vast underwater chamber, he sees the Heartstone embedded in a pedestal of coral, its light pulsating like a heartbeat. Before he can approach, a monstrous figure emerges from the depths, a guardian of the Heartstone, half human and half sea creature. It lets out a deafening roar, and Femi knows he must find a way to outsmart it. The guardian circles Femi, its eyes glowing with a menacing intelligence. It speaks in a voice that echoes like crashing waves. "To claim the Heartstone, you must prove your worth," it declares. It sets forth 3 challenges: courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. For the first challenge, the guardian conjures an illusion of Oma, trapped and calling for help. Femi's instinct is to run to her, but he remembers Nana Esai's warning about tricks. He steels himself and walks through the illusion, proving his courage. Next, the guardian asks a riddle, testing Femi's wisdom. With his quick thinking, he answers correctly. The final challenge is the hardest. The guardian demands a token of sacrifice, something precious to Femi. He hesitates but then removes the enchanted necklace Nana Esai gave him, placing it on the pedestal. The guardian nods and steps aside, allowing Femi to claim the heartstone. As he does, the chamber trembles, and the melody grows louder, signaling Nyanya's arrival. As Femi clutches the heartstone, the water around him churns violently. Nyanya emerges, her eyes blazing with fury. "You dare to steal from me," she roars. Femi stands his ground, the heartstone glowing brightly in his hands. "You took my sister," he shouts. "I'm here to end this curse." Nyanya's laugh is cold and echoing. "You cannot undo what has been done," she sneers. But the heartstone pulses with a light so bright that Nyanya recoils. Femi realizes its power can weaken her hold. Summoning all his courage, he declares, "This ends now." The battle begins, a clash of wills and magic as Femi uses the heartstone to deflect Nyanya's attacks. The cave shakes, and the water rises, threatening to drown them both. But Femi's determination does not waver. Nyanya's cry reverberates through the cavern as she unleashes a tidal surge, aiming to drown Femi where he stands. Waves crash against the heartstone's protective aura, sending sparks of light in all directions. Femi struggles to hold his ground, his arms trembling under the gem's immense power. The mermaid's attacks grow more relentless. She summons water tendrils that lash out like whips, each strike more vicious than the last. Femi counters by channeling the heartstone's energy into the cavern, forming walls of light that absorb the blows. Despite the protection, the sheer force of Nyanya's wrath shakes his resolve. "Why do you fight me, boy?" Nyanya snarls, her voice a mix of rage and anguish. "Your family betrayed me. They owe a debt that must be paid." Femi steadies himself, the heartstone pulsating warmly in his hands. "They may have wronged you, but Oma doesn't deserve to suffer for their mistakes," he says, his voice firm. "Let her go, and we can end this together." Nyanya hesitates for a fraction of a second, the sorrow in her eyes deepening, but her anger quickly resurfaces. "You know nothing of my pain," she bellows, conjuring a cyclone of water that engulfs the chamber. Trapped in the swirling vortex, Femi struggles to breathe as water closes in around him. The heartstone's glow dims under the immense pressure, and panic sets in. He closes his eyes, recalling Nana Esai's words, "Courage will guide you, but only the truth will set you free." In that moment of clarity, Femi focuses on the heartstone, pouring all his emotions into it, his love for Oma, his anger at the injustice, and his empathy for Nyanya's pain. The gem responds, emitting a brilliant light that pierces through the cyclone and shatters it into droplets. Nyanya recoils, her form flickering like a wavering flame. Femi seizes the opportunity to address her. "Tell me your story," he pleads, his voice cutting through the chaos. "What happened to make you this way? Maybe I can help." The mermaid freezes, her ethereal features softening. For the first time, she looks less like a vengeful spirit and more like a broken soul. The cavern falls silent, save for the faint hum of the heartstone. Nyanya lowers her arms, the currents around her coming. "You truly wish to know?" she asks, her voice trembling with both anger and sorrow. "Then bear witness to the truth." The heartstone glows as Nyanya extends a hand toward it. A vision engulfs the chamber, revealing scenes from the past. Femi watches as a younger Nyanya, radiant and full of life, helps the village during a time of great famine. She provides fish and calm seas, asking only for their respect and an occasional offering in return. But the villagers grow greedy, taking more than they need and neglecting their promises. Among them is Femi's great-grandfather, who strikes a secret bargain with Nyanya, the life of his firstborn daughter in exchange for continued prosperity. When the time comes to honor the pact, he betrays her, leading to the curse that has plagued the village ever since. Femi's chest tightens as he sees the depth of Nyanya's betrayal and pain. "You were wrong," he admits, his voice heavy with guilt. But punishing innocent people won't heal your wounds. Nyanya's eyes glisten with unshed tears. You speak of healing, yet your family's bloodline is the source of my suffering, she says. Why should I forgive when I was shown none? Nyanya's sorrow reignites her fury, and she resumes her attacks with renewed vigor. This time, the battle is not just of physical might but of emotional resolve. Femi uses the heartstone to shield himself, but instead of countering with force, he speaks to her through the chaos. I can't change the past, he shouts, his voice steady despite the turmoil. But I can make things right now. Let me help you break this cycle. Nyanya falters, her strikes losing intensity. The cavern trembles as her inner conflict manifests in the surrounding waters. What could you possibly offer me? She asks, her voice barely a whisper. Femi steps closer, the heartstone glowing brighter. Peace. Freedom. A chance to move on from this pain. The light from the heartstone envelopes them both, and for the first time, Nyanya's form begins to stabilize. But the battle is far from over, as the true test of Femi's resolve and Nyanya's capacity for forgiveness looms ahead. All parents must watch this. This is what happens in every home. Have you ever heard about the two little kids who lived alone in one room and acted like grown-ups? No? Well, get ready, because this story will make you laugh, surprise you, and maybe even teach you something. In a small urban village, young siblings Tand and Amina find themselves alone after their uncle mysteriously disappears. With no parents around and no money left, they face the tough realities of life. Tan bravely steps up, cooking lumpy porridge, cleaning their room, and even finding small jobs at the market to survive. But when they notice a suspicious man following them, their adventure takes a dangerous turn. Who is the man, and why is he after them? With the help of a kind woman, Mama Binta, the kids uncover a shocking truth about their uncle's death. This heartwarming African folktale is a story of bravery, responsibility, and the strength of family, proving that even little kids can become heroes. In a small urban village, squeezed between noisy streets and tall buildings, there was a tiny room. And in that room lived a little boy named Tand and his younger sister, Amina. Tand was 10 years old, and Amina was 8. Life wasn't easy for them. Their parents had gone far away to find work, and the two kids were left with their uncle. But guess what? Their uncle disappeared one day, leaving them all alone. One morning, Tand and Amina woke up to find something very strange. Their uncle's shoes were gone. His hat was gone. And worst of all, the little money he usually left behind was also gone. Tand, where is uncle? I'm hungry. I don't know. Maybe he went to the market early. Don't worry, Amina, we'll figure something out. Tan tried to stay calm, but deep inside, he was worried. Their uncle had never left without saying something. That day, Tand and Amina waited and waited, but their uncle didn't come back. So, Tand did something brave. He cooked breakfast for both of them. Tand, you know how to cook? Of course. I've been watching uncle. See? The water is boiling, and now I'll add the maize flour. Easy. Well, Tand's idea of cooking didn't go as planned. The porridge turned out lumpy, and it tasted, well, let's just say Amina didn't ask for seconds. This is funny. Next time, I'll cook. Days passed, and their uncle still didn't return. Tand and Amina decided to take care of themselves like real grown-ups. They cleaned the room, washed their clothes, and even went to the market to buy food with the little money they had left. But soon, they faced their first big problem. They ran out of money. Tand, what will we do? We don't have any money left, and we can't go hungry. I have an idea. Let's find small jobs to do for people. Maybe they'll pay us. At the market, Tand and Amina offered to help sellers carry their goods. One old woman, Mama Binta, asked them to carry a basket of fruits to her stall. She smiled kindly and gave them a few coins. Thank you, children. You are brave little ones. Where are your parents? They are, far away. Well, take care of yourselves. And if you ever need anything, come to me. The children thanked her and quickly left. But as they walked away, they noticed a man in a dark hat watching them closely. Tand, that man is staring at us. Don't look back. Just keep walking. The man followed them through the market and into their street. Tand's heart was pounding. Who was this man, and why was he following them? What do we do, Tand? Let's hide behind that stall. Quickly. They hid behind a wooden store, peeking through a small gap. The man in the dark hat walked past them, looking around suspiciously. After a while, he disappeared into the crowd. Phew. That was close. But why was he following us? I don't know, but we need to be careful. That night, as they lay on their small bed, Tand couldn't stop thinking about the man. Something didn't feel right. Tand, do you think Uncle is in trouble? Maybe, but we'll find out. Tomorrow, we'll ask Mama Binta if she knows anything. The next morning, they went back to Mama Binta. She listened carefully as they told her about the man in the dark hat. Oh, that sounds like Mr. Kofi. He's a debt collector. Your uncle may owe him money. So that's why Uncle left. We have to find him, Amina. We need to help Uncle. With Mama Binta's help, they found out where Mr. Kofi lived. Tand and Amina bravely went to see him. Sir, we are Uncle's children. Please, don't hurt him. We will pay back the money. You kids are brave, very brave. Don't worry. Your uncle isn't in trouble with me anymore. He's been working hard to pay back what he owes. You should be proud of him. Relieved, Tand and Amina thanked Mr. Kofi and returned home. Soon after, their uncle came back, tired but happy to see them. You two have grown so much. Thank you for taking care of each other. And so, Tand and Amina proved that even little kids can do big things when they work together. They faced their fears, took on responsibilities, and became little heroes in their small urban village. Sound of children laughing and a rooster crowing. Remember, no matter how small you are, you can be brave, smart, and responsible. And who knows? Maybe one day, you'll be a hero too. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it so much. Please don't forget to hit subscribe button, like and comment so that YouTube will continue showing you my future videos that I will post from now on. Stay blessed. Welcome to African Folktales stories and movies. Surely you will never go to busy salons after watching this, so sit back, grab your coffee and relax as we unfold the story of the dark secrets of a Lux salon. The big secret behind Lux Hair Studio salon that will shock you. In Lux Hair Studio, a junior stylist named Jade starts to notice something strange behind the salon's shiny, beautiful look. While working on a client's hair, Jade discovers a secret and scary ritual involving soul weaving, a dark process where hair is used to take people's energy. As Jade looks into it, she finds out that clients' lives are falling apart after having special treatments with Aria Monroe, the salon owner. Jade has to figure out the truth before she becomes another victim of Aria's curse. The sound of scissors slicing through strands of hair echoed like whispers in the air. Lux Hair Studio was the city's crown jewel, drawing an elite clientele who were willing to pay exorbitant prices for the salon's signature touch. The owner, Aria Monroe, was a mysterious woman known for her hypnotic charm and her stylist's uncanny ability to transform anyone into a masterpiece of beauty. But behind the glittering facade, something darker lurked. Jade Carter, a junior stylist eager to prove herself, had just started her shift. The air smelled of lavender and eucalyptus, but it couldn't mask the strange chill that ran down her spine. A regular client, Claudia Everett, was seated in Jade's chair. Claudia's usual sharp confidence seemed dulled. Her eyes were tired, and her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her designer bag. "Rough week?" Jade asked as she prepared Claudia's hair. Claudia nodded, her lips tightening. "Ever since my last visit, everything has been wrong. My deals are falling apart. My husband and we are fighting over nothing. And nightmares. Always nightmares." Jade frowned. She glanced at the calendar. Claudia's last appointment had been with Aria herself. The memory nagged at her as she worked on Claudia's hair, trying to push aside the unease. Later that evening, as Jade swept the floor, she noticed a peculiar strand of Claudia's hair. It shimmered faintly, like woven starlight. She picked it up, only to feel a jolt of something she couldn't describe. Her hand tingled, and for a moment, the salon felt suffocating. "Jade," Aria's voice rang out, smooth and commanding. "Bring that to me." Jade hesitated, but Aria's piercing gaze left no room for argument. As she handed over the strand, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had just surrendered a piece of a puzzle she wasn't meant to solve. The next morning, Jade arrived early at Lux's hair studio, her mind clouded with questions. Claudia's strange complaints and the shimmering hair haunted her thoughts. What had Aria done with that strand? Why did it feel so alive? As Jade prepared her station, she noticed a faint, sweet aroma lingering in the air, different from the usual salon scents. She followed it to the back room, where Aria's private office was located. The door was ajar, and inside, Aria stood over a basin filled with a glowing liquid. The strand of Claudia's hair floated on the surface, pulsing with a soft light. "You're curious," Aria said without turning around. Her voice was velvet smooth, laced with an undercurrent of power. "That's good. Curiosity can be a valuable trait." Jade froze. "I didn't mean to intrude," she stammered, stepping back. Aria turned to face her, a faint smile playing on her lips. "No need to apologize. You've always been observant, Jade. That's why I chose you." "Chose me?" Jade's heart pounded. Aria stepped closer, her eyes glinting like polished obsidian. "Lux isn't just a salon. It's a sanctuary. A place where beauty becomes power. But power requires sacrifice." Jade's stomach churned. She wanted to run, but her feet felt rooted to the floor. "What kind of sacrifice?" she whispered. Aria's smile widened. "You'll see, in time. For now, trust that everything we do here serves a greater purpose." Before Jade could respond, Aria dismissed her with a wave of her hand. "Go prepare for your clients. And Jade, keep this between us." Jade nodded numbly and left the room, her mind racing. Whatever was happening at Lux, she was determined to uncover the truth, even if it meant risking everything. Over the next week, Jade couldn't shake the unease that had settled over her. Clients came and went, each leaving the salon looking radiant. But Jade began to notice a pattern. The regulars who had appointments with Aria seemed off. Their laughter was forced, their movements jittery. And their hair, it shimmered faintly, just like Claudia's. Claudia, however, didn't return for her usual appointment. Concerned, Jade decided to check on her. She found Claudia's address in the salon's records and made her way to the upscale apartment building. When Claudia opened the door, Jade barely recognized her. The once glamorous woman looked gaunt, her eyes sunken and bloodshot. Her hair, though perfectly styled, seemed to weigh heavily on her head. Jade? Claudia's voice was a rasp. What are you doing here? I was worried about you, Jade said gently. You haven't been to the salon. Claudia hesitated, then stepped aside to let Jade in. The apartment was in disarray, with papers and clothes strewn everywhere. It's like my life is falling apart, Claudia admitted, sinking onto the couch. Ever since that last appointment with Arya, I feel like I'm losing myself. Jade's gaze fell on a mirror across the room. Claudia's reflection flickered, her image briefly distorted. Jade's breath caught. Claudia, has anything strange happened recently? Claudia nodded, tears welling in her eyes. The nightmares. They are getting worse. And sometimes, I hear whispers. In my own voice. Jade's blood ran cold. She placed a comforting hand on Claudia's shoulder. I'll help you, she promised. But deep down, she feared she was already too late. Jade's determination to help Claudia led her to dig deeper into the salon's recent clients. She combed through appointment logs and discreetly reached out to those who had undergone Arya's personal treatments. The stories she had mirrored Claudia's nightmares, unraveling lives, and an overwhelming sense of dread that clung to them like a shadow. One such client, Marcus Hayes, had been a rising star in the city's tech scene. When Jade met him, he looked nothing like the polished entrepreneur featured in business magazines. His once vibrant energy had been replaced by paranoia. I don't know what she did to me, Marcus whispered, glancing around nervously. But it's like she's still there. In my head. Her voice, her presence. It's everywhere. Her voice. Jade asked, her throat tightening. Marcus nodded. When she touched my hair, it felt like she was taking something. I thought I was imagining it at first, but then everything started falling apart. My company, my friends, my sanity. It's like I'm cursed. Jade's unease deepened. She'd seen Marcus's hair glint faintly under the dim light, the same otherworldly shimmer as Claudia's. The pattern was undeniable. Whatever Arya was doing, it wasn't just affecting her clients' appearances, it was consuming their lives. That night, Jade sat alone in her apartment, her laptop glowing as she researched anything that might explain the phenomena. Folklore, occult rituals, and legends of enchanted objects filled her screen. One term stood out, soul weaving. The process described a dark art where strands of hair were used as conduits to siphon energy, binding the victim's essence to the weaver. Jade's hands trembled as she closed her laptop. If this was true, then Arya was far more dangerous than she could have imagined. And Jade was standing in the eye of the storm. The Wicked Princess of Abeokuta. This African folktale tells the story of Princess Inyola, heir to the vibrant kingdom of Abeokuta, who has become a cruel and tyrannical ruler after experiencing a devastating personal tragedy. Her reign is marked by fear and oppression until she encounters Kihind, a kind and courageous orphan boy. Kihind, undeterred by Inyola's cruelty, challenges her and seeks to awaken the compassion that lies buried beneath her hardened exterior. Through his unwavering kindness and the shared stories of the past, Kihind helps Inyola confront her grief and rediscover the compassion she once possessed, ultimately leading to a transformation that brings hope and healing to the kingdom. Princess Inyola, heir to the vibrant kingdom of Abeokuta, cast a long shadow that fell over the land like a chilling mist. Her laughter, once a melodious song, had transformed into a cruel, mocking sound. Her eyes, once sparkling with mischief, now held a chilling darkness. The people whispered of her wickedness, of her penchant for petty cruelties and her disdain for the suffering of others. They spoke of her with fear, their voices hushed as if to avoid attracting her wrath. Eniola, however, remained indifferent. She reveled in their fear, finding a perverse pleasure in the power it granted her. The whispers reached the ears of Kihind, a young orphan boy known for his unwavering kindness and quiet courage. Kihind, unlike the others, refused to succumb to fear. He saw not the wicked princess, but a broken soul trapped within a gilded cage. He yearned to understand the pain that had twisted her into such a cruel being. He knew, deep in his heart, that there was still good within her, a spark of compassion waiting to be ignited. Eniola, bored with the monotonous routine of court life, decided to indulge in a new form of amusement. She would organize a game, a cruel test of endurance for the children of the village. The children, unaware of the princess's sadistic intentions, eagerly participated, eager to please their ruler. Eniola, however, had other plans. She devised a series of increasingly difficult challenges, designed to push the children to their physical and emotional limits. Kihind, watching the children suffer, felt a surge of anger. He couldn't stand idly by while innocent lives were being toyed with. With a determined stride, he approached the princess, his voice steady despite the tremor of indignation within him. "Princess," he began, his gaze unwavering, "this is not a game. These are children, not pawns in your cruel amusement." Eniola, taken aback by the orphan's audacity, sneered. "And who are you to question me, boy? A mere street urchin daring to lecture the princess of Abeokuta." Her voice dripped with contempt, but Kihind remained undeterred. "I am Kihind," he replied, his voice firm, "and I will not stand by while you inflict such cruelty upon the innocent." Eniola, intrigued by his defiance, found herself strangely captivated. This was no ordinary orphan. There was a fire in his eyes, a spark of courage that ignited a flicker of recognition within her own desolate heart. Eniola, despite her initial fury, found herself strangely affected by Kihind's words. A seed of doubt, a tiny sliver of uncertainty, had been planted within her. For the first time, she began to question her actions, to examine the echoes of cruelty that reverberated through her own soul. The children, witnessing Kihind's bravery, found the strength to resist, their spirits lifted by his unwavering support. Eniola, watching their defiance, felt a strange pang of guilt, a sensation she had long forgotten. Eniola, unable to bear the weight of her own guilt, lashed out. She ordered Kihind to be punished, his defiance deemed an act of treason. Kihind, thrown into the dungeons, faced the harsh realities of the princess's wrath. Yet, even in the depth of despair, he did not lose hope. He believed, with a quiet certainty, that he could reach the good that still remained within Eniola. He knew that the darkness within her was a wound, a deep and festering pain that had twisted her soul. In the depths of the dungeon, Kihind met an old woman, a former court storyteller. The old woman, sensing the boy's troubled spirit, began to weave tales of the past, stories of a time when Princess Eniola was not the cruel tyrant she had become. She spoke of a time when laughter filled the palace halls, when kindness and compassion were the hallmarks of the Abeokuta court. Kihind, captivated by the stories, began to see glimpses of the girl Eniola once was, a vibrant, compassionate child, brimming with joy and a love for her people. He realized that the cruelty he witnessed was not the true essence of the princess, but a mask she had donned to shield herself from the pain that had consumed her. The old woman, her voice trembling with emotion, revealed the tragic events that had shattered the princess's childhood. A devastating plague had swept through the kingdom, claiming the lives of many, including Eniola's beloved parents. The young princess, overwhelmed by grief and despair, had withdrawn into herself, her laughter replaced by a chilling silence. The joy that had once filled her heart had been replaced by a deep, suffocating sadness. Kihind, listening to the woman's tale, felt a surge of empathy for the princess. He understood the depth of her pain, the crushing weight of grief that had transformed her into the cruel tyrant she had become. He realized that the key to unlocking the goodness within her lay in helping her heal from the wounds of the past. Determined to reach the princess, Kihind began to use his talents. He was a skilled storyteller, his voice weaving enchanting tales that captivated the gods. He would share these stories with the gods, subtly incorporating messages of hope and forgiveness, of the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Slowly, subtly, Kihind began to chip away at the walls of fear and resentment that had imprisoned the gods. He reminded them of the kindness and compassion that had once defined the Abeokuta court, of the time when the people and the rulers lived in harmony. The gods, inspired by Kihind's stories and his unwavering belief in the goodness of the princess, began to question their own loyalty. They had been conditioned to fear and obey, but Kihind's words had awakened a dormant sense of justice within them. They began to see the princess not as a cruel tyrant, but as a broken soul trapped within a gilded cage. A small seed of rebellion began to grow within the ranks of the gods, a glimmer of hope that the darkness that had enveloped the kingdom could be overcome. Kihind, observing their growing discontent, knew that the time for action was drawing near. Kihind, using his newfound influence over the gods, began to subtly undermine the princess's authority. He would accidentally leave books of poetry and philosophy within reach of the gods, books that spoke of compassion, forgiveness, and the importance of inner peace. He would engage the gods in conversations about the past, reminding them of the happier times, the times when the people and the rulers lived in harmony. The gods, exposed to these new ideas, began to question the status quo. They began to yearn for a return to the golden age of Abeokuta, a time when kindness and compassion reigned supreme. A whisper of change began to circulate through the palace, a subtle shift in the balance of power. Inyola, sensing the growing discontent among her guards, felt a surge of unease. The whispers of change reached her ears, fueling her anxiety. She felt a growing sense of isolation, surrounded by a court that seemed to be slipping away from her control. One evening, while strolling through the palace gardens, Inyola encountered Kihind. He was sitting beneath a flowering tree, lost in thought. Inyola, intrigued by his presence, approached him cautiously. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. Kihind, looking up, met her gaze with a steady gaze. "I came to speak with you, Your Highness," he replied calmly. Inyola, surprised by his boldness, felt a surge of anger. "You have the audacity to speak with me after all the trouble you have caused," she demanded, her voice rising. Kihind remained calm, his voice unwavering. "I understand your anger, Your Highness," he said gently, "but I believe there is still good within you, a spark of compassion that is waiting to be rekindled." Inyola scoffed. "Compassion? What do you know of compassion?" she sneered. "You are nothing but a rebellious urchin, a thorn in my side." Kihind, refusing to be deterred, continued to speak. He reminded her of the girl she once was, the vibrant, compassionate child who had brought joy to the kingdom. He spoke of the laughter that had once filled the palace halls, of the kindness and compassion that had been the hallmarks of her reign. Inyola, listening to his words, felt a strange stirring within her. Memories, long buried beneath layers of anger and resentment, began to surface. She remembered the warmth of her parents' embrace, the laughter of her childhood friends, the joy of sharing stories with the people of Abeokuta. The memories, however, were bittersweet. They were accompanied by a wave of grief, a crushing reminder of the losses she had suffered. The image of her parents, their faces etched with pain as the plague ravaged the kingdom, flashed before her eyes. The laughter of her childhood friends, now silenced by the cruel hand of fate, echoed in her ears. The joy that had once filled her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, leaving behind a gaping void of emptiness. Eniola, overwhelmed by the intensity of her emotions, sank to the ground, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of her grief, the crushing loneliness that had consumed